You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast, brought to you by NBA 2K23. Mo Mootsie, BJ Armstrong. BJ, how you doing?
Well, I just saw a funny video. I don't want to spoil it for
The people,
our
the people
viewers, but
haven't
it
seen it
just
yet.
makes me people haven't seen it. So, but I hope they have. I hope they laugh as much as I laugh.
If you guys want to see the video we're talking about, you got to be following the Hoop Genius on TikTok or Hoop Genius on Instagram because that's coming out very soon. I got a funny one in store for you.
Yeah, it's good. Well, how you doing? How you doing? It's the weekend. How you doing,
man? Listen, so BJ, I've been wearing this device on my wrist. It's called a Whoop, right? And it's like a health tracker. And it measures like your heart rate, your blood oxygen, all these kind of factors, right? And every day it tells you how many hours of sleep you need, and then it measures how many you actually get. So obviously every day I fail and I'm in the red zone because I do not get enough hours of sleep. But yesterday was the first time ever I got 100% of my sleep requirement. So,
congratulations.
That's a big deal for me. As you know, I never sleep.
Yes, it is.
So that's a big deal. However, I woke up today feeling absolutely awful. So I'm drinking my hot, lemon juice and honey with some ginger and some turmeric, trying to get back on track.
Okay.
I feel like I'm allergic to sleep, but we're here for another episode of the podcast. Yesterday was great. Some weekend wisdom. So I want to get more weekend wisdom from you, BJ. We had some beautiful early tip-offs today. We were recording this on Saturday evening, and we saw an early one in Madison Square Garden with the Nuggets and the Knicks. And the Knicks took the win. The Nuggets continued their slide. They've been very underwhelming in recent weeks. They actually had a team meeting earlier in the week to set the stakes for the season. KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, is the only member of the squad who has a championship ring. And he said, what do we want to be? This is not the time to be losing games we're supposed to be winning. Do we want to be champions or do we want to go home? Now, BJ, this is where I need your wisdom, because we've seen in recent weeks the Denver Nuggets have got a little bit exposed. We're seeing teams go at the Joker more and more on the defensive end. Jokic, in his run for the MVP, has actually been missing a bunch of big shots. Today, he missed a wide open three-pointer. Well, wide open as in he moved the defender with a pump fake, and then he was open. That they could have won the game with. The same thing happened last weekend with the Brooklyn Nets when they were in Denver. So I want to know from you, if you're the Denver Nuggets, what's your game plan given their defensive liabilities at three positions with Jokic, Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray? How, when you get to the playoffs, can you try and alleviate some of that and actually make a run at a championship?
Well, Mo, the first thing, again, this has just been my experience. When you start having players-only meetings, then that's when I know there's a problem. Okay.
Sometimes they work.
The players.
Sometimes, remember the Marcus Smart meeting last season where he called out Tatum and Brown?
That's fine. I'll preface the conversation again. In my experience, when I start seeing, when I start seeing players only meetings, they never end well. Okay. So Marcus Smart had a players only meeting, and all right, that's fine. And you get the results now. You have to have internal leadership, and the internal leadership is meaning your best player. In this case, for the Denver Nuggets, is Jokic. He's their best player. So it's very easy to think, well, Jokic has all the answers. Truthfully speaking, now this is where group dynamics is very important. The first guy on the team, which is Jokic, and the 15th guy on the team, they all have a role to play in this game if they're going to win. That's just how it works, okay? Now, the best part of being a pro mode, from all the successful teams that I've played on and all the successful teams that I've been able to witness over my lifetime, is that you have to prepare for everything. You have to prepare for the winning and know that we're not as good when we win games. And that means also, Mo, I have to prepare for the losing. I'm not as bad as I am right now. Because, Mo, this is an 82-game schedule, and there's going to be highs and there's lows. So how do you keep this even keel? Now, the one thing that I want to see from this team, talking about the Denver Nuggets, is I don't want to see them get emotionally involved in what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to share something with you, Mo, that a championship caliber team knows. When you are a championship caliber team, a la the Golden State Warriors, they're not emotionally involved in their losing right now. I just watched Steve Kerr convince me in a post-game press conference after they lost to the Atlanta Hawks, by the way, for like their 10th straight loss on the road.
Yeah.
He says, quote, "I still believe in this team and we're just fine."
Yeah.
Now,
and I still do. And that's why I'm looking at it like, if the Warriors get the 8th seed and the Nuggets get the 1st seed, I like the Warriors.
Okay. Now, that sounds like a man who understands that, yeah, all right, we lost. We've lost a few games. It's going to happen, Mo. No one is perfect. Yeah, no one is perfect, Mo. As much as I want to think that I know, I don't have all the answers. But what I do know, Mo, is that I have to emphasize, highlight what I do well, and I have to make sure what I don't do well, that I don't allow other people to attack me so that I can have and give myself the best chance to win the game. Now, the Denver Nuggets, guess what? Everyone has something in their offense and defense that they are weak in. We know now what they're not good at. Mo, I've been telling you this since the beginning of the season. This is nothing new. Now, teams are just exposing that. And here's the thing, Mo. What adjustments are they going to make in the series? Now it's the regular season before we get to the playoffs, so that what they do well, they do. And what they don't do well, it doesn't allow them not to win the game. And what I'm starting to see, Mo, is the following. This is what Steve Kerr knows, okay? And I don't want to expose the Warriors because they got something going over there. Power doesn't panic. The Warriors lose and they're like, okay, but we'll get it together.
Yeah.
Well, Bo, they can't win a game on the road, and they're like, "Oh, we're fine." hey, well, they're like, "Oh, well, we'll get it together," and then they're so confident that you're like, maybe they might get it together. Here's a team that's in first place in the Western Conference, and we're like ready to push the panic button with them.
The Warriors haven't won a game on the road since the 30th of January. Today is the 18th of March, and they're still not worried.
Okay. So my advice, if I were talking to the Nuggets, is to say, okay, let's not let our emotions get in the way of the job at hand. Everyone knows the job at hand. The expectations of them having the MVP, the expectations of him having the best record in the league comes with what's next, Mo? Hey, they should compete for the championship. Yep. Now, Mo, they play a game, and you watch the New York Knicks. They ran one play. And I watched the Denver Nuggets. I said, I just want to see in the fourth quarter if whatever adjustments they're going to make, right? They just didn't. They did the same exact thing for the fourth, and it was a tie game going into the fourth quarter. Now, Mo, again, every team has something. I want to see what they're going to do. Okay. Now, Mo, we had a little saying in our locker room when I was on good teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a job to do, and you got to figure out how to get the job done no matter what. Everyone has a matchup. Mo, everyone has a matchup. If everyone wins their matchup in this room, Mo, we're going to win this game.
Yep.
Okay. Now, when the heat comes, Mo, if you are trained to put the fire out, that fire is going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mo, we refer to ourselves as firemen in our locker room. Because when the heat came in that locker room, Mo, we were trained to put that fire out. Some of us, Mo, were a little bit more aggressive than others. We went looking for the heat and looking for the smoke. Mo, now some of us, I ain't saying all of us, some of us went looking for it. Mo, we have to the Denver Nuggets and all great teams, all good teams, all championship caliber teams, Mo, they do the same thing. They control the heat. They are trained to put out the heat, and they live in the heat.
Mm-hmm.
When we see the heat and you're a championship team, you run to that because you know that's where excellence is. Excellence is where the smoke is at.
Yeah.
The fire is where the smoke is at. Some people, Mo, when it gets hot in the kitchen, they run from that.
Mm-mm.
I want to see this Denver Nugget team run to it now. There's nothing else to talk about, Mo. They have a top 5 player. They have a terrific coach. They got the best record in the league. And now when it's a little hot, now they want to start talking. It ain't nothing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't, Mo. The heat is in the building now. It's in the locker room. When the heat comes, Mo, who's trained to deal with that heat? You've been playing all year. You've been doing this your whole life. Where are the firemen when you need them? So now, Mo, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not pushing the panic button with the Denver. I watched them really well today. Now, Mo, I get it. We're all stubborn. That's a quality that you need to have if you're going to be successful as a professional player. However, Mo, there's nothing wrong with making adjustments to do what you got to do to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a sign of weakness. You got to make it, Mo. Believe it or not, the other team is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Mo.
The Knicks are on a tear. Like, we got to give them credit where it's due.
Believe it or not, Julius Randle, Brunson, and those guys are good. Believe it or not. They may not be MVPs, but they're pretty good. But they're all stars in their own right, Mo. So you have to respect this league. And that would be my advice if they were asking me. Okay, that's okay. We know who we are. We know what we can do. Mo, you don't just play and have a game going into the fourth quarter tied up unless you're doing something well.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know, Mo, why you win. Why do you win in this league, Mo? Who's going to get the stops when it counts? The Knicks did. Denver didn't. And that's all it came down to. So I just hope that this team, because they've had an excellent regular season, that they take the next step of being what a championship caliber team needs. Because, Mo, you can't teach someone this. You have to experience it. It is very, very difficult, Mo, to go through that step. Because why? You got to be on the string with the other 14 guys in that locker room. And that's what people never prepare you. Okay, yeah, I know the best player, the guy who scores the most points will get all the accolades. Oh, he's a superstar. Oh, he did this. Truthfully speaking, though, Mo, everyone in that locker room has to provide a level of leadership.
Yeah.
To be ready. Because, Mo, you hear me say this all the time, and you're going to start hearing me saying it in a couple of weeks. You need unlikely contributions from players to win 16 games.
We've seen that over the years. Like, if you guys remember, like, Gary Neal on the San Antonio Spurs, Danny Green before anyone knew who he was, Grant Williams last year to get to the finals. Like,
you need unlikely contributions, okay, to win. And that means everyone has to be on the same page. Everyone has to understand the role at hand. And then when it's time to step up, you need those people to step up. So, Denver, it's time. You're on the clock now. You're on the clock, and everyone is evaluating themselves as we head into the playoffs versus you. And right now, the challenge, either you're going to put the fire out and let people know, no, we are this good, or people are going to go into the playoffs going, oh, we can beat them. And that's the one thing you don't want heading into the playoffs.
If we look at the Denver Nuggets from a tactical perspective, and we look at what teams have started doing against them down the stretch in recent games, and that's putting Nikola Jokic into the pick and roll, as we saw the Warriors do in the playoffs last year, but then knocked them out. What can the Denver Nuggets do from that tactical side of things to kind of, because we've talked about, we all know how you kind of, if a guard is a weak defender, how you can kind of hide that a little bit. But when your 5-man isn't a shot blocker and isn't really able to guard out on the perimeter, what can they do from a tactical perspective to try and alleviate some of that?
Well, Mo, listen, what can you do? Okay. Again, the first thing is you have to create competitive environments for everyone. Okay. And the competitive environment looks like this. Jokic, who is their center, okay? Who is their center? He is their last line of defense. Okay. He's their last line of defense. Mm-hmm. That means he is going to be the last guy to stop some form of penetration, which every offense is going to try to create.
Yeah.
How do you create penetration? You can do it off the dribble. You can do it with the pass. You can do it with the shot, because if someone gets the offensive rebound mode, you're still on defense. Okay. So Jokic has a very big job because he's the last line of the defense. He is the anchor of the defense.
Yeah. And he can't afford to get into foul troubles because of everything he does on the other side.
Okay. That's correct. However, Mo, if you don't stop that penetration, either on the screen roll, which they're going to include Jokic, or you can't protect the rim, that puts you and your team at a disadvantage. That's the problem here. Now, I don't know which one is necessary, which one they're going to do, because what I see is they're afraid to put Jokic on the perimeter because he's not the quickest guy if you switch with him, which will put him at a disadvantage. And they don't have another player that's behind him that can rim protect. Okay. So if you switch with him and the guard, let's say Jalen Brunson, because they play the Knicks, they gets by him. Now you're playing advantage basketball. Great for the Knicks, awful for the Nuggets. That's the first problem. Second problem. Well, if you don't switch, you help and you recover. Now you're retreating. And you're retreating, trying to recover and hope that the Knicks don't make the right play because you're in an automatic rotation. Well, Mo, we all know that if you're already rotating before the play happens, you're already at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So they're caught somewhere in between this because they don't want to compromise their defense. And by the way, Mo, their best defensive rebounder is who? Jokic. So if you have your best defensive rebounder out on the perimeter and you're playing with Bruce Brown and Jamal Murray and those guys, well, Mo, no wonder the Knicks are going to just crash the board. Josh Hart and these guys, they're excellent offensive rebounders. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we know, Mo, the one thing that hurts, if you and I are on the offense, we're going to tell our big to screen and roll. Why? Because the rotation is going to be a guard on my center who should be in great position to get the offensive rebound. I got my shooters in the corner
wide open because the defense have had to help in the lane.
And they've already done in basketball terminology, they're in a pre-rotation. So Mo, right now, they are caught in between this. It's a bad area.
Yep.
It's just a bad area to be in. Now, at some point, Mo, maybe they already have the solution that they're just not showing yet for the playoffs. But they're going to have to do one of the following. Either they're going to live with these open shots, or they're going to have to stop the penetration. Okay? If you watch how the teams are doing, and when they get into a pre-rotation, meaning they rotate before the play even starts, the other team just brings Jokic back to it, right? They are
whoever Jokic is guarding, they will use as a screener in the screen roll.
So they're just getting to the play to get to the thing that they have to do. And you can't keep pre-rotating if they just are patient enough on the offensive end to wait to get to the matchup that they want. They're searching the matchup, Mo. There's a theme in the NBA.
Yeah, but honey, like LeBron does it all the time, but LeBron usually gets a smaller defender. You know, whoever's the smallest, weakest guy on the court, their man will come and set the screen so LeBron can bully his way to the rim. Whereas teams are doing the inverse against Jokic. They're bringing Jokic the biggest defender because they know he's slower.
So at some point, Mo, they're going to have to just live with it. Now, I don't know what the solution is because Coach Malone knows his roster better than me. But what I do know, Mo, is when I watched the game today, they included 3 guys in the fourth quarter. They put in what's the tall kid?
Michael Porter Jr., maybe one of the worst defenders in the NBA.
Okay, they put Michael Porter Jr. They ran a 3-man game on the right side of the floor, and whichever one switched on Julius Randle, he just attacked. They wanted to attack, okay, Jamal Murray. Mm-hmm. And they ran one play. Mo, you can go watch it. They ran one play. And they would set the screen with Mitchell Robinson, but they would screen the screener. You know how they I forgot what they call it. I think they call it the Euro
Spain,
whatever.
Spain pick and roll.
Spain. There you go. There you go.
Set the original screen. Yeah.
They ran Spain with Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and Brunson. And then whoever Murray was guarding, they got him the ball, and then they played from there. And I'm telling you, now, they didn't make an adjustment. And Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, they just had a field day. Now, I don't know what they're going to do. Coach Malone knows his team better than I do. However, Mo, what I do know, that level of defense that I saw today, it's not gonna win. Okay, that I know. What do I think they could do? I just think now everyone's got to man up. You just got to accept, Bo. You just got to accept the responsibility. I personally don't believe it's necessary to switch. Okay, just like what you see Steve Kerr do, you hedge, you hold, and you allow the guy to get around and get in position, because when you compromise your defense with size and you start putting Jamal Murray on Julius Randle, for instance, it compromises everything. Everyone's out of position. And once you get out of position, you have your rebounding, your defensive rebounding is not as good. Your spacing is not as good. And it just breaks down. So that's what I would do. And then just live with the results. I mean, what else can you do? These guys are really good.
Yeah.
But what I see them doing, Mo, is they're running a scheme instead of just taking on the challenge. Because in the end, Mo, it always boils down to this: you versus me.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
When we look at teams who have won championships with weak defenders as their bigs, there's not really many. The last one that springs to mind is the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. But what they did was Nowitzki played the 4, and they brought in Tyson Chandler at the 5, who was an elite rim protector, and they played a lot of zone defense on their run to the championship, because then that way Dirk was only responsible for his zone, and he had defenders. Like Jason Kidd was a great defender on the perimeter. Tyson Chandler was a great defender at the bucket. Sean Marion was a great defender that could switch on to bigger players than him. Mm-hmm. And they had all guys around him. For me personally, I think that as talented as the Denver Nuggets are, with Jokic, you can't have a lineup which includes a point guard in Jamal Murray, who's been very inconsistent recently and isn't known as a great defender, and Michael Porter Jr., who is very far from a good defender. Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, fantastic for their positions. But if you're going to build a championship team around Jokic, you need the other 4 guys on the floor to be elite on the defensive side as well. That's just my personal opinion,
what I would like to
really
see,
want to win a chip.
You know what I would like to see? I mean, again, this is just my 2 cents for whatever it's worth, without knowing anything. Again, I don't know. What's the point of having a guy like Jokic if you can't move him around the floor?
In terms of,
I would love,
when you say moving around the floor, offensively,
defensively and offensively. Like, the beautiful thing about watching him play, he plays everywhere on the floor on the offensive end. He's at the 3-point line. He's in the post. He's at the pinch post. He's pick and pop. He's pick and roll. He's in the mid range. He's shooting floaters.
He does it.
He's passing the ball. He does it all. Okay, you move him around. Now, you know what I would really like to see him play with, Mo, is another big guy. And the reason I'm saying this, Mo, is because of the following. He's so amazing as a passer. Imagine him playing with another 7-footer next to him.
Well, we don't have to imagine. They actually did that at the start of his career in Denver. It was Jokic and Nurkic on the court together. in a double big experiment that didn't really work. And I think Nurkic, if we're talking about another 7-footer, isn't the ideal 7-footer because he's also slow with his feet. When we talk about another big playing alongside, like what I'd want to see, maybe Rob Williams playing alongside Jokic. You know what I'm saying? Like someone that can play I think air rather than just another post-up guy.
When you're building a team around a great player, which he truly is, you have to help and complement him. So what is the one thing he doesn't do well, Mo? Right? He's not athletic and he doesn't rim protect. So why wouldn't, like, I remember last year when JaVale McGee, or 2 years ago when JaVale McGee played there, or whenever that was, I was like, that could be fascinating because you're not going to play that for 30 minutes a night. But Mo, for the last 4 minutes of the game, when the game really slows down and you know what the other team is going to do, because Mo, think about this. Just think about this for 1 second, Mo. Just think about this. What's the one thing we don't see in the NBA anymore? No one plays with two bigs who can score anymore.
Detroit are trying.
Okay.
Milwaukee can.
Okay. Milwaukee can, but they don't go to Brook. Brook is the third, fourth, fifth option.
Yeah. Only when Middleton's out. Only when Middleton's out and Drew's, whatever.
Brook is a secondary offensive player at best. But what I love about him, he's their first player on the defensive end. He anchors that defense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Giannis, who just runs around as an athlete and blocks shots and does all that things. Now you got something. So what I would like to see is, and because you know that, so you say, okay, I'm going to put a tall, athletic rim protector next to Jokic so that Jokic can always be on the second best offensive player on the defensive end. Okay. You follow what I'm saying here. So now you have to make a decision on Jokic. So now if you blow by Jokic, you just keep coming to the basket. The big will seal the basket. And now let's just get to the three-point shooters and run them off the line. Okay. That to me is a solid defense. Because if you did that to Brook Lopez, Giannis is there. Giannis and Brook work in a tandem. The problem with the Denver Nuggets, they can't work in a tandem because their best player, Jokic, they need him to be the rebounder. They need him to be the rim protector. They need him to be in rotation. And all we're doing is picking on this guy for 48 minutes because he has no help. Mo, he's the best offensive player. He's the best defensive player. And we have to play to him for 40 plus minutes and he's involved in every play. Mo, that's almost impossible. So what I would like to see is for them to get an athletic player to play beside him and then utilize their team that they currently have to play the majority of the minutes. But we know when these teams start attacking us, we have to complement what Jokic doesn't do well. It's not like it's going to change. It'd be different if Jokic was a young player and he was learning the game. Well, this is who he is. So I think the best thing to do is to say, okay, how can I compliment him?
Yep.
Because he knows how to. Mo, when you watch him, it's not a lack of effort.
He tries. There's just only so much he can try. It's like watching me.
That's what Mo. Mo, he knows what to do. He tries. We all have faults in our game. We all have things we don't do well. It's not a lack. It's not because he's not giving the effort. It's just, it is what it is. So why not help? Why not help him? Because you know he wants to do it.
Yep.
Mo, you know he wants to. Mo, the guy is as competitive. He plays. He shows up. He does everything you could ask. You can't ask more of him. But what we can do, I think, is you can help him.
Yep.
And if you put someone beside him that can compliment him in those last 4 or 5 minutes of a game. Mo, it's not like you're running in the last 5 minutes of a game anyway. Everyone's coming down running a play. You got a big, you put him in a dunker spot. And now, Mo, you got to double team Jokic anyway.
Yep.
So now you have dunkers, you pick your poison with him on the offensive end, and then on the defensive end, you always have rim protection. Mo, you can't play without rim protection or being able to switch. He's never going to be able to switch.
Yeah.
And
you've got to play
even though he's 7 feet,
you've got to minimize
even though he's a 7-footer, he's never going to be a rim protector. It's not that he's not trying to be. It's interesting
statistically, when they play him in the drop coverage, he's a lot worse than when he plays at the level, because the one thing he does have going for him is quick hands, and he can make deflections, make steals. The other one that's interesting that I heard someone talk about is he kicks the ball an extraordinary amount. Like, you know, when point guards are trying to make that bounce pass through the middle, he just kicks it and they start the possession again. That's just the interesting bit.
That's what I think. But again, that's what I see. Coach Malone knows his team. I don't know his team. You know what I mean? I'm not there, but I do know that if I'm playing against a team that I know can't take away one of those or both of those, I feel pretty good going into the game. I don't have to worry about people blocking my shot, and I don't have to worry about teams switching. Well, that's comforting to know.
Yep.
Now all we got to do is start making shots. If we make shots, Mo, they have no adjustments that they can really go to. And I think that's the problem when you talk about the Denver Nuggets right now.
Well, that is one of the issues. Only time's going to tell. Less than a month till the playoffs now. So we're going to see what happens as that unfolds. We're going to be right here with you with the Hoop Genius podcast. So make sure you subscribe, share this with your friends. Make sure you leave a review and a rating, 5 stars if you would be so kind. And make sure you lock in with us. We're going to be back all week long. Don't miss a single episode. And most importantly, you guys know the vibes. Get buckets.